Is it Friday? I think it's Friday. It's Friday. Which means it's the last stream before the weekend. And I'm just going to get into 2D and 3D CAD work again. So, not much reason to dilly-dally and chit-chat too much. I may as well just start poking around and see where I left off and see what I should work on next. Not sure how productive I'm going to be today. My head's kind of thinking about other things, so we'll just have to see how things go. Yeah, which should be fine. Right, so I'm immediately thinking about the state of this namespace here. And what I think I'm actually going to do is just call it draw old. And what I might do instead here is actually create a whole new namespace just for solidifying and collecting ideas and prototypes that are more in line with the new approach of more cleanly separating SVG from 2D context and 3D context kind of stuff. So what is that actually going to look like? Let's is that actually even a good idea, first of all? Let's see. This is no longer true, so I should delete that. Okay. Maybe what's like a good, let me see if I can try to draw some inspiration here for a minute. Right, so Quill. Quill does a lot of the things that my library is intended to do as well, which is totally cool. It's nice to have alternatives. I'm just kind of wondering how they sort of split out. That's not what I meant to go look at. How they, let's see. This is what I'm looking for, the GitHub. It's a few months old, which is nice. That's not a problem. Let's see here. So use the word sketch in there. Let's have a quick peek at the code here. Just see what kind of things show up here. Middleware, snippets. Let's look at CLJC. Navigation. Utilities. Sketch is probably right, so def sketch is kind of the name of their high-level object sort of thing, or object, maybe their abstraction, I guess you could say. Yeah. And then render, they have, okay, that's fine. Yeah, so they're just kind of calling it sketch and then going from there. So, right, so I could call it sketch. I could make a namespace there. But I'm going to go back on what I said earlier and just see if there's a nice way to fix this up a little bit here. So let's go save this first of all. Load file, source, stylo, draw.cljc. Okay, unable to resolve spec, stylo.draw. So let's go sort that bit out for a minute. I must have plunked it somewhere. There's a lot of stuff to clean up through here, which is totally okay. Right, so I've got a bunch. This needs a lot of work. Sketch to 3D, draw edges. All right, I'm confused what this error is causing, but I'll have a look at the file itself. Source / draw. Let's see. If I unable to resolve spec, stylo draw / point. What am I looking at here? Okay, here we go. This is what I'm looking at here. This fdef thing, I think, is what I don't need. Yeah, okay. Right, so that isn't too bad. Let me now kill that buffer. That was around, I do believe, transforms and the rotate thing, so the fdef stuff. Shoot. Maybe it wasn't. Let's well, let's see here. Here we go. Okay. All right, let's try this now. Okay. Now let's go about, this is going to take a lot of work to, basically I'm just going to be deleting a bunch of stuff because it's quite messy. But that's okay. In the specs, I know I need to work on it, but I'm gonna just keep my mind clean for a moment and get rid of that for now. The reason I'm listing out the refers here, the idea is I don't think I should do that. The idea was since this is CLJC, in Clojure you can use the refer. You could do require. Oops, no caps lock here. You can do how does it go? Require stylo.geometry refer all. But in Clojure script, this is invalid. You can't do that, as far as I know. Let me double check that actually. Let's see if that actually will work. Is it possible? This is 6 years old. It's not, it's intentionally not possible. Okay. It's bad style. I suppose it's bad style because okay. Well, that's fair enough. Well, so with that in mind anyway, the idea here is I manually enumerate the things that I have to use frequently. I think what I want to do though is change it to like use an as and just go that way. So by that I just mean silo.geometry refer as G, so that it looks like in this namespace I've done it that way here. Draw as D, which we'll change later. This is all still a big mess too. Yeah, so I'll do that. But I do want to well, let's just get into it. It's gonna be messy no matter what I do, so may as well just start chipping away at it a little bit. I do want to keep SVG with explicit calls like this because no, actually I don't, because I will be defining things get confusing pretty quickly, as it turns out. Yeah, let's go like this. We'll do it this way. Get rid of refer, turn it into as SVG. Pardon me. Okay. So if I save this, things are gonna be messy. So if I load this now, okay, it still loads. That's good. Let's go ahead, have a look at this stuff now. So this has gotta be That's annoying. I don't like it, but okay, so be it. Right, so figure, I immediately have this idea. Okay, so if let me actually see what happens. This is not gonna work anymore, I think. Well, maybe I'm fine. We'll find out. The idea of a figure is, let's see, draw, refer, figure. Let's go up here. Well, let's try it. Let's see what happens if I pull one of those in. So what I want to do here, okay, SVG tests. Right, let's zip all of that out of here for a minute. Here we do figure, and it's gonna take a description and some content, and the content itself is wrapped, it's assumed to be some SVG thing right away. So what I do is just, well, let's just do translate circle 10. Let's see what that looks like. I expect errors, but we'll find out. Okay, so we have in svg/translate, well, this, yeah, doesn't even work there. svg/circle. Use of undeclared, yeah, I keep forgetting I have to actually do this. Hey, okay, so the figure function is working, which is good. At least I thought it was working. Let's see. This SVG, oh, it auto scales stuff. That's actually not, I don't think that's behavior that I want. Probably the default scale should be 1, so it's pixel sizes. I think that's a little more intuitive, perhaps. I'm not sure how to handle that yet, but we'll get there. Okay, so I should see if it works. There we go. Okay. Right, so the figure thing is working. Let me actually see if there's in papers or something, if there's like a proper definition for what figures actually are. Springer seems like a reasonable place to look that kind of stuff up. All right. Figures and tables are often the quickest way to communicate large amounts of blah 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 complex information. That's good. Figures. Figures are ideal for images. data plots, maps, and schematics. That is exactly the kind of stuff I'm tending to produce. So figures need a clear and concise legend caption to accompany them. Okay. Data plots. Boy, okay, this is a figure for sure. So fig. I wonder if I should have a figure counter kind of idea. Right, so in the context of this little app thing, I have, right, so it does something like this, string, actually no, it would be, how do I do this, strong, fig dot, oh, let's hard code 1 in there for just for the moment, for a moment. And let's see if that looks like anything good. The reason I'm looking at the figure idea is because what I want to do next is have a concept of a XY with the with some grid drawn on it or something like that, and then immediately I want to think about how I might do that in a 3D, like make a 3D version of it. So I have to just clean this up just enough that I can experiment with that today, if that makes any sense. Alright, so this is gonna fail again. Really a lot of stuff needs to happen. Oh, I need a space here. This should be string. Oh, I could do it like this. Right, so P when n, when n, you do this strong bit, which I will fix up in just a minute. When n, strong, string, and then description. Yes, okay, so here figure space and that, we do that with n, and then we end with a space. That's the string call. That's strong and gets placed in the paragraph with the description. Okay. What I'm gonna do is see if this makes sense. Let's see. So width, height, scale, n. When n, you do that. Otherwise, you don't. So is this gonna fail or work? I don't know yet. Let's go. Let's have a look at this. Right, so if I do figure svg / circle 10, wrong number of arguments, of course. If I do 500 by 250 by scale of 1 and I don't give it n, it's just nil. P nil, which should be fine. And then if I add this here, let's do n is 1, figure 1. Okay, yes. fig num. I don't know if that's a good name. Fig num, like that. Save that. Right, so this call to figure, where am I at here? I'm losing my place already. Oh, that's okay. Okay. Right here. This figure needs the 500 by 300 scale 1. Figure number is 1. Okay. Save that. This I'm gonna fix in a minute. So we've got C line 287 of svg.cljc. That, oh, okay. Let me go and get rid of this problem for a minute. Okay, so that is in the path spot just above arc string. Cubic Bezier debug is the thing causing the problem there. So if I just comment it out, that should fix that issue. This should not warn anymore. I believe that that'll fix that. Okay, figure dot nothing. Oh, that's right. I haven't changed the name properly here. Containers. This has to be fignum here. Save that. If I refresh this, save that. Really, eh? Oh yeah, now I'm gonna be getting all these errors with all this stuff. Okay. Save it that way. A lot of work to do. Okay. So there's figure 1. Yes, there's gonna be all kinds of things there. Okay, so that's working. Let's put in the notes and issues thing here, a little thing. The draw namespace is a complete mess. Total rewrite is probably necessary. The other thing is figure function explicitly requires fignum. Build into the document compiler the ability to count figures. This would make it much better for rearranging figures, editing, rearranging figures during edits. You don't have to pay attention to figure numbers, which is totally the right approach. So that's okay for the time being. Oh man. Okay, quadrant figure. You know what I'm gonna do? Let's actually delete it and make a figure that draws actually, let me think about this. Let's do centered figure. Let's try that. what I want, so a centered figure, what I want is something that basically it's going to look like this. So if I go SVG tests here, if I make this 400, but well, no, let's leave it like that. If I do SVG line, let's not, I don't even need to translate it. If I just do SVG/line, SVG/line, right, so here I've got 2 points and here I've got 2 points. So this point is going to be the x-axis. So if I draw it from 0x, half of y is 150, and so then the end of this is 500, 150, and then this I'm going to make the y-axis. If I do this is not hard, my brain just shut off for a moment. Okay, half of 500 is 250 in the x position, 0 in y, 250x, and 300 in y. So if I draw that, ooh, could not. Oh, that should work, shouldn't it? Oh, maybe because they might be there just without style attached. Let me see here. Yes, they have no style. They got no class, no style. SVG, whoops, SVG/color, black. Apply the color to those for a minute. That should work. Yes, it does. Let's do slate gray for kicks. Oop. Slate gray like that. Perfect. It's beautiful. Right. Okay. So I kind of want a centered figure, right? So what I have right now is explicitly drawn lines at the so that they have the center point there, right? What I want to do is if I do SVG/circle. No, SVG translate 250, 150, a circle, right? That should pop up in the middle of there, right? So what I want is this idea of centered figure, or maybe the default figure is centered already. I want it to be such that the exact middle of the figure is by default lined up with the 0, 0, 0 point being exactly in the center of the view. So that I don't have to do this translate business here. So what I'm trying to think about is how to achieve that result. Because I don't actually know off the top of my head how to do it. Right, so if I actually look at my SVG element here, width, height, and scale, it's this view box thing that actually might be what I need to change. And I'm gonna get to it, but I'm gonna be right back. Actually, I want to go to the bathroom for a minute. Okay, back. Right, so how does this work again? Well, let me do the Is it capital V or is it, I don't remember. Yeah, that's a tangent I don't need to go on for right now. Let me do this to see what happens for a minute. If I do view box string, and I want to string together four different let's do apply interpose spaces between this list of things, where this list of things is the width divided by 2 negative, the height divided by 2 negative 2, then the width divided by 2 positive, and the height divided by 2 positive. Okay. Let's see. That's valid, right? Is it valid? I think so. Let's do this way. Oh, apply string is stir, of course. Okay, let's see what happens now. And also this is probably why I'm getting an error. Okay. Let's refresh this. Right, so what I am wondering is if that change leads to, save that, refresh this. Of course it's broken. Shouldn't be broken. Yes, that's fine. Okay, there we go. So now, okay, so that made no difference actually. So that's not, unless I am misunderstanding something here. Right, so the view box is negative 250. Yeah, okay. What happens if I just get rid of this entirely? The width and height. Let's see. I don't know that that's a sensible change, but I want to see what happens. Okay. Right, so that didn't do anything useful for me, so that's not the issue. Okay, I I honestly, I thought the viewbox thing would actually work. So what I have to do is figure that out. Okay, there we go. So we're back to a kind of working situation. This viewbox thing didn't seem to make a difference, so let me go let's have a look here, understanding the coordinate system. Let's see if I can get anything useful here. Oh, that's another thing. I wonder, I should probably invert the Y. So the default SVG behavior is to have the, oh, I don't know I actually don't know what the smart thing to do is there. Right here it says, yeah, so the Y positive points downward with SVG by default, and I don't know if that's what I want, so. Yeah, units is fine. That's not helpful to me. Yes, yes. Okay. Maybe, oh, maybe I'm thinking about this actually the wrong way. Maybe I have to start it at already at the halfway point. Maybe. Does that make sense? SVG viewbox. Maybe, yeah, maybe this is better documentation. Min X, min Y, width, height. Oh, okay. So let's think about it this way. So this is incorrect. This should still be like that. Let's reload this for a minute and see what's what. Oops. Okay. Nope, that didn't help me. Well, let's change this to positive and see if that... Oh, wait a minute. Let me just do it in here. Wait a minute. Okay, refresh. that's not it either. Unless it didn't pick up the change here. Yeah, so the view box. Right. Okay, so the negatives are the right approach, kind of. I don't quite understand why. My little thing isn't doing, why this negative half thing isn't doing what I want it to. I'm just misunderstanding something for a minute here. So let's see what can be done. The view box, okay, negative 250, negative 150, 500, 300. Okay, so that does in fact do what I want it to, but why on earth? Okay, so what's wrong? What's wrong with this? Okay, let's oh no, I can do this. Let's minimize the change or minimize the differences here. So this, I totally expected this to work then, because I changed it in the console and it appeared to work. So let's see why it doesn't work, because I am surprised that it doesn't. Yes, errors. I'm comfortable with that for the time being. Okay, inspect this element. Let's have a look. Why is it doing this? We gotta inspect this. Zoop. Yes, okay. So, what is wrong with this? Let's change it back. I'm a little confused. Oh, okay, it's the capital V. Seems, maybe it's that. Maybe that's the only problem. Let's find out. Okay, that's the problem. That was it. Well, that's silly, but that's okay. All right, so what I want to do then is maybe I should call it well, let's get this back to normal for a moment. I think there was a reason why No, it doesn't matter. I thought there was a reason why I capitalized the V in ViewBox there, but that could be just me misremembering. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Okay. So if I go svg/svg, oh, I have to load, yeah. Load file, let me save this. Load file, stylo svg.cljc. There we go. So now if I run svg/svg, it's, yeah, that's correct. So let's say 200, 200 scale 1, and then the content is an empty string. I have this whole thing here, transform scale 1. I think I might change this approach here, where the scale value just directly ends up in a G tag there. I might want to change that. I don't know yet. Anyway, that's maybe a non-issue though. So what I'm going to do here, maybe it's a good idea to define this as sketch 2D or something like that. With the same width, height, scale. That's maybe a messy name. Well, we'll start with that though. No, we won't start with that. We'll do drawing 2D. Drawing 2D. Okay, that's fine for now. So what that takes is just the same arguments. Width, height, scale. Hey Maurice, how are you? Are you trying to run a command of some kind? I'm a little confused there for a second. Or is that just a notification on my end? I don't know. Let's see what's happening here. All right. Hey, Maurice, I'm not sure if you're trying to run a command of some kind. I don't, unfortunately, if you are, I have no bots set up to, no chat bots set up to help with anything. So my bad if you're looking for that kind of stuff. Where was I? Right, so SVG and content. Let's do that. Right, so in this case, right, what I actually want to do is run svg/svg width, height, scale, pass content in there, but first I want to actually produce here. Oh, cool. Hey Maurice, thanks for the host. If you're there listening, I appreciate that. That's cool. Let's see. Right, here we are. So what I want to do is actually produce a different ViewBox string, which is just going to be here. Whoops. String together the interpose space of these things, which will be width divided by -2. Actually, what happens if I do, let's say the width is 500. So if I do 500 divided by 2, what if I do Yeah, so this is what I'm avoiding. Yeah. By doing this. Yeah. That seems good. That seems okay. So we'll do divided by height, -2 as well. And then width and height is the whole string there. Oof, getting a little crowded over here in the window. That's fine. String that all together. So that's the view string. Is this whole nonsense? Oh, it has to be apply string to this whole thing. Should make a helper function that strings lists together with spaces automatically instead of constantly writing this bit out. Right, because if you just apply string to a list of things directly like this, there's no spaces. So that's the problem. I need the spaces. But let's see here. Put that in my to-do notes issues thing. That might make sense to do that. It might not, but it seems like it could be helpful. But anyway, so what I need to do with that view string is actually, let me see. Right, so if I run this function, it actually there's no difference whatsoever with the SVG function directly. So 200, 200, 1, content is empty. What I want here is I need to do assoc in this thing. I need to associate into the not the 0th position, but the 1st position and the view box key. And I need to associate in some new value, right? That will work there. Perfect. Okay, so to do that, all I have to do is associate in this map, these keys, one view box, this value, which is view string. Okay, so that should actually be it. Let me get this back to one line, I think. Okay, let's see if this works. Hey, typo. Where is the problem? Let view string be apply string to this. Here we are. Width, height, close that list, close interpose, apply. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, drawing 2D then. size, let's do 500, 300, scale is 1. Oh, I have to do this. And the content's just empty for now. So there we have the content in there just like normal. Width, height, 500, 300, that makes sense. And the view box is shifted over so that the center point of the drawing itself would be at 0, 0, which is what I do want. So then figure can be something you use to wrap any SVG call. So I could change the semantics of figure a little bit. I could actually just make it pardon me. I could just make it purely yeah, maybe I will do that. Well, let's make a new function here, define fig, which is just and content, where all I do here is div.figure content and then p when how do I do that? It's gotta be n and content. Yeah. So then it's just, yeah, that's not perfect, but it's a good starting point. It's better than nothing. Let's actually call it fignum. Fignum ends with a space. That's in a strong tag. And then you just do, I do need actually to do figure, the number, the description, and the content. Yeah. Right, so this content just exists there directly. Don't need to width, height, and scale it at all because it just is going to wrap it nice and simply. Oh, I have to do this though. Yeah. Okay, so that's the strong, and then you write a description there. And there's some, so this is a CSS class figure which exists in the default, what's it called? The default style sheet. Right, so using this logic, okay, so if I refresh this and get it loaded up again, the circle should be drawn back there because the default, or like the default SVG wrap is just a normal SVG element. Oh, I have to actually make a change here, of course. Oops, that's too big. Save that, refresh this. Yes, okay, perfect. Right, so now what I want to check for a minute is just changing the call to figure here. Let's change it to d/dwg-2d, which takes width, height, scale, and that's it. This is invalid at this point. I don't need it. Can I just do that? Yes, I can. Okay, there we go. So the drawing 2D is working the way I want it to. So if I translate it -10, -10, and -100 and 0, yes, okay. So I know this is 500, so if I do -250, oh, -250, I should see half a circle on the left. Yep, okay, that's perfect. So now the other thing to check is just this fig call. So if I do d/fig, taking a figure number an SVG drawing 2D is the description, and then the content is all of this stuff. Oops, not what nope. Fat fingers today. There we go. Okay. Figure 1, an SVG 2D drawing, and then you pass it the contents, which just are these things. And I need one more paren to close it off. This should work. It does. Okay. I think I like that. I think I like that approach where you can turn a thing into a figure. It is still true that this should be just a reference to, like, either it should be the counting should somehow be handled automatically, so that I don't, like, if I, for instance, make a figure, I write a bunch of text and I realize figure 1 and figure 2 are in the wrong spots. If I just swap them around, I have to manually change the figure number, and I want it to do it automatically for me. Hey Bizmonger, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Okay, so that's a 2D drawing. Do I want to have sort of the idea of debug stuff? You doing all right? I'm straight. And me? I'm doing well also. I think you're either nearly done or done your quarantine. Is that correct? Right, this can be back to 0, 0. Correct. Toronto's nice work. I'm glad that that's done for you. I'm sure it's nice to be able to get out. Yeah, and Toronto's treating you well. That's good. Okay, so my next little thing is now you need your own vehicle. 45 minutes away. 45 minutes away from Toronto, you mean? Or from work? Or oh yeah, from Toronto. I gotcha. Do you take transit in, or like the go train or something like that? These SVG lines are in the wrong spots right now. I want to start it at -250 and go to +250. Oh wait, this is the wrong. Yeah. There's that, and then this here starts at 0. This is -150. Starts at 0 and is 150 here. Borrow your girlfriend's car. Nice. Yeah, borrowing cars is nice and all, but yeah, at some point you kind of might want to get your own, right? Although I have a vehicle. I don't actually enjoy owning vehicles myself personally. Like, I kind of do need one to get around, you know, but I don't know. Hate asking for permission. Yeah, that's totally fair. It's like, it's way nicer to just, oh, I need to go do a thing now and I need a car. Just be able to hop on your own thing, right? I totally understand that. I completely get it. Oh, this now. Yeah, cool. Right, so now kind of, I don't know how I want to handle axes, right? Like, should it just be a function call that draws them in there? Am I a Clojure guru now? I don't know. I'm not going to claim any titles. I think that's probably for other people to decide. And if I would guess, I would say other people would say, no, not yet. There are so many things that I still need to learn. What I will say I'm pretty good at is CAD work. So, and which is really one of the core kind of areas that I'm trying to use Clojure to do anyway. So that maybe I'm hedging. I don't think I'm a Clojure guru, not yet. There's a lot for me to learn yet. I'm getting more comfortable with it though. I'm also getting a little more comfortable streaming in general, you know? It's a weird thing to sit and stream your programming, but it's fun, and I'm just a little more comfortable with it now, I guess is the right thing to say about it. You know? Not very, still a lot of work to do with everything. No, but not a guru, not yet. And you know, getting better is part of the idea, but becoming what other people might say as a guru, I'm not sure that that's really my goal. Don't get me wrong, I want to be a good programmer, but I don't know. If I worry too much about performance for the sake of performance, you know, I worry that I might lose focus. I don't know if that makes any sense. Maybe I'm wrong. Just making assumptions about my own brain, you know? Right, so I kind of am picturing, pardon me, a function maybe, whoops, where I just go like this. I just call draw/axes, and it automatically, or it correctly draws the axes to fill the drawing that they're in. So does that make sense to do? I don't know. Right, so like if I start with the first thing that comes to my brain, and I do here, explicitly a 2D function like this that takes no arguments, the first thing that comes to mind is literally just returning a group tag with the ID axes, and it just contains SVG line from some point to some point, SVG/line some point to some point. Then I return that, and the some point to some point stuff, if I draw the x-axis, SVG/line is a qualified path. Well, so this is it's probably hard to tell with how I've got my code all in this org file here, but it's like this. It's I don't know if you call it a qualified. Oh, I lost my place here. SVG/line. This SVG/, I suppose you could call it a qualified path. It's just referring to the namespace. So this function I'm writing is in the draw namespace, and I have required in it stylo.svg as SVG. So all of the symbols that are defined in the SVG namespace, I can reference by doing SVG/. So if I were to do this, refer, and then list out SVG, that basically creates a symbol in the draw namespace that, without having to qualify it like this, if I refer SVG, then I could write it like this. So I guess calling it qualified is probably, that's probably what you're talking about. Same idea. Okay. It's an attempt for me to kind of split into namespaces the different sort of abstractions I'm working on here. So the SVG namespace is basically just wrapping the existing functionality of SVG as an XML structure. So I just have the shapes here, right? If I do circle, it just returns a circle shape that will be compiled into the correct circle element and all that, right? So that I want to have in its own namespace. And then the draw namespace, I want to kind of build useful tools that are more general or more specialized in some way that use the default SVGs. That's all. So SVG/line, yeah, is just calling the general line function. That's really all that's happening. Not sure if that makes sense. But here, if I draw an axis group, the x-axis will start at, I'm in the wrong, 0x, 0x. I'm cheating. This is the easiest thing I could think of to start. Right, so this will draw 2D axes right away. If I, right, so if I call axes -2D here, and if I just get rid of these, yeah. I just want to get rid of these. This, oh, right. I thought that would work. Let me check here. Oh, of course, I'm making a silly little mistake here. These two lines, I have to do color, and I have to give these lines some kind of color. Let's do Nord theme. What's a nice kind of color here? Oh, X, Y, Z axes default colors. I always forget, I think, no, what am I looking for here? Let's just see here. Maybe there's an image that, okay, so this is what I'm looking for. So X is usually red, Y is green, and Z is blue. So if we do SVG/color red, and then this one will be green. Oop. And we get rid of this one. Okay, that's a start. But I want them to be kind of nicer colors, so I'll use probably these in a minute. Let's just make sure it works. Zip-a-dip-a-doo. Yeah, where am I going here? That should error for a minute, or warn. It's not an error, strictly speaking. Oops. Refresh. There's axes. Oh, they're beautiful. They're not the most beautiful. That's okay though. We're not, I'm not here to design things beautifully at the moment. I mean, I think beauty matters in some broad sense. Oh, I did it wrong as well. This is what I need here. Ooh, boy. Refresh that bad boy. It's okay. We'll stick with it for now. Oh man. All right. I'll be right back. All right. Okay, so that axes function kind of works, but it's a bit of a cheat because if I have a diagram that's greater than 1000 by 1000 pixels, then that reaches the extent of the axes. So the other thing is I could refer to axes as the arrow things, and then the grid lines are different. See, this stuff gets some of these decisions start to feel a little arbitrary, which is the thing that kind of gets my goat a little bit. Anyway, that's this me being silly for no reason. Okay. Actually, I do wonder if this will work if I do. I've not tried this yet. SVG / style element, and I want to style each of those elements. Oh, I have to do apply partial SVG style element over these two things. Wait a minute. Map is what I mean. I have no idea if this will work. I'm just trying to see if my cleverness is a good idea. Just for fun here. Okay, so map partial, yeah. Oop, wrong window now. Okay, let's see. All I want to do here is stroke width. Let's make it 1 pixel instead. And we can actually see if this is going to be valid if we go here and do axes 2D. We'll get there one day. There we go. Right, so stroke width 1, stroke width 1. It seems to work correctly. That's nice. Yeah, that should still work just fine. We'll see. Okay, save that. Just go through the refresh rigmarole. Yes, that's fine. Okay. Is this stroke width working the way I think it is? Let's inspect this here. This line should have a stroke width of only 1 pixel. There's the circle, there's the axes, line, stroke width is 1. It is 1. Oh, wait a minute. Should it just be 1 like this? Does that make a difference? No. Ah, okay. Right, so it just is displaying a little weird because of probably the zoom level. Let's try 2. See, I don't want to mix styling in with the functionality of these things, but like to some degree it seems a little unavoidable, right? Like you have to make a default decision about how to display things that are visual in nature, right? So it bugs me a bit because I don't totally know the right way to make those decisions, or if there is a quote-unquote right way to actually do it. It can feel arbitrary is kind of the only concern I have, but that's okay. Basically, since it's for my own use, I can kind of make the call and make the decision, so I have the power to make those calls myself. And in fact, I am going to make it 1 pixel here. Should be good. Now what's a cool thing to work on next? Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do actually. So I have this draw namespace. I'm gonna split this code off into old draw. This has to be deleted, or why am I shouting at myself? Let's not do that. This code has to be moved or deleted. If moved, place it in draw. If deleted, good. I'm being silly. I'm writing extra words that I don't need. But the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of this stuff is a big old mess that I'm not going to use anyway. For example, I have in here this 3D stuff. I originally started with the idea of a renderable object, and I had some entity ideas here, entity default colors, and a default map which had a value and attributes, and I was making this complicated structure. And then I had stuff like no, not in the builder, here, this regular polygon thing. I had a function that made a regular polygon point set, which actually is a useful thing, but now this is confusing because it can make so there's this polygon 2D function, which it's not clear what that means, versus regular polygon in general, and things were just blowing up in confusion. So a lot of this old draw thing, I'm gonna be deleting it and just slowly picking through and pulling only the things that are still worthwhile. into things, right? So this regular polygon points thing, right? If I take the radius of 2 and I want to do 6 points, this is a list of points that forms a hexagon in 2D space, which is a useful function, right? So that, for example, is something useful to put in the draw or the draw namespace. Whatever namespace ends up being responsible for 2D and 3D CAD work, basically. Right, so this polygon 2D function, I don't even remember what it's supposed to do. If I run it, I think it ends up making a polygon. Oh, see, yeah, so this is what I mean by things being messy and not worth keeping. I have this polygon 2D, it makes a map structure that's nodes, and then it has all these node attributes and values, and then a set of faces. I'm not happy with how I built this, so it's not really worth keeping, if I'm totally honest about it. So what I think is a potentially good idea is to actually, just for a moment here, go through all of these here and separate them out into its own tangle. Maybe don't tangle them at all, actually, if I do this instead. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Wait, let me just make sure. Yep. So it's amazing how much code I actually write that I just delete. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's proof that I need to, or that I'm really in an iterative sort of approach here. Like the amount of code I delete will go down over time as my confidence in the library structure improves. It will also be true, I think, that the amount of code that I write will also decrease for this library, at least, over time. Because, you know, you get closer and closer to some sort of platonic ideal of what the library should be eventually. This offset thing and this dimension 2D thing, they need to be refactored for sure, but they are some of the most useful bits that I've got in here, so they do need to be for sure brought back in. So actually, let's just capture that idea here. Subsections here are from most likely to save to least likely. Does that make sense? It might make sense. Okay, parametric stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Did I finish? Getting rid of the tangle stuff? Let's see. This is unfortunately boring, but sometimes things are not that fun and you just got to do it anyway. So I'm okay with that. And it doesn't take too long to go through and figure out. It takes a long time to go through things and figure out when you have to add stuff, but it's really quick if you know for sure that a function is deletable or a whole set of code because of its bad abstraction or it was never used or whatever, if you know that, it can be nice and quick to go and clean up your code that way. Deleting stuff actually does feel pretty satisfying most of the time. So this extrude stuff is potentially necessary, actually, now that I think about it. I might need to pull that out again. But a lot of this stuff I have to read through my notes and figure out what I was thinking at the time. Oops. Because I don't remember everything off the top of my head. Which I think is okay as well. Okay, join. Yep. Transform sketches was an idea I was working on. I get attached to functions, don't like deleting entire functions. It took me more than an hour to write. Yeah, I can understand that. So the thought in my head is, and maybe it's only because I consider what I'm working on still highly iterative, a lot of prototyping, exploring kind of thing. I feel like deleting functions is more closely related to recognizing an idea that didn't work. And if I think about it that way, it's almost like, well, you've actually gained, Source control makes me feel better. Yeah, I get that too. Well, so I don't really show it much on here, but I do check things in and out of Git as well. Then I can revisit it. Yeah. So I also do feel pretty comfortable deleting stuff because I know I need to get better at doing it more frequently and more intelligently, but I do check things in and out of Git as well. So the risk when you delete stuff is not too great anyway. But the benefit of, at least for how my brain has been working with this stuff, it can just clear your mind almost, I wrote down all these ideas or different ways in which you can manipulate the data, and it turns out this one and this one and this one aren't helpful anyway, so just clear it off the table, That's been my kind of idea here, right? So there were 20 sections of code that I didn't delete them yet, but they're now not actually in the source. I mean, they're in the main level document here, but it might prove very beneficial that I can just delete a lot of it. I don't know if any of that made sense. Anyway. Right, where was I? Oh yeah, I had this right, so here let's go ahead and make a thing called what's the right sure, it's a horrible name, 3D transform prototype. What I'm gonna do here is just have a look at this 3D thing that I did here. I do have this section, this rotate thing, right? The idea here is if you give a 3D shape through the rotation, and then transform it back into 2D, you get a projection of a shape at some rotated angle, so it looks like an isometric projection kind of thing. So I'm wondering, so I achieved that before in a messy way by doing these rotates and stuff like that, and then just dropping the Z. So what you give it a 3D object, right, with points, with 3D points. You do the rotation transform, and then to draw it in an SVG container, you literally just drop all the Z axes, or all the Z parts of the points, and then you get what looks like a 3D object, which is pretty cool. Is it the right thing to do? Question mark, question mark. I'm thinking about how I want to do it. Right, so I would need the rotate transform from here. I would need the how to do what? So I want to be able to draw 3D shapes, but just use SVG to make the figures in the document, right? So SVG itself doesn't have any concept of 3D, right? You can't draw a circle in a 3D space. So if I'm drawing things in the code with 3D points, then I need to project that 3D shape onto the 2D SVG canvas, basically. And I'm trying to think if there's a smart way to do that reasonably well. What I did do before is I had a 3D data structure. I would apply rotation transforms to all of its points. Illegal states unrepresentable via function signature. I'm not sure what you're getting at there. Sorry, I don't understand what you mean. I think you mean illegal, right? Illegal states unrepresentable. I don't totally know the point you're trying to make with that. Can you control the operation via parameter types? I mean, yeah, you can. So there are ways that I could do that for sure. Then use pattern matching to pick it. Yeah, so there's along those lines, and maybe it misses some of what you're thinking about, but there's the general. Let me see. It's called multi-methods, so you can do def multi. Here, actually I have a def multi here. I could show you for a minute. If I go into the SVG namespace here, this shapes thing, there's a bunch of elements here, and each of these shapes has its own sort of data structure, right? So a line, for example, has x1, y1, x2, y2. A circle has center x, center y, and a radius. So there's some transforms that I want to do on those 2D shapes, right? Translate, for example. And so what I have here is a def multi function, translate element. And what this is here is a dispatch function. So what this does is if you call translate element and you give it some data, it runs this function on that data, and then that returns some value, and that returned value is what is used to dispatch to the specific implementations. So in the case here, if I do svg/circle, right, and then I were to translate this element, the data structure here is a list where the first element of that list is the key. It's like the tag of what it is. And then here, if I go translate element, it dispatches on the first element there, right? So then it'll run this implementation, and then it'll do this function. And so you can do it on ellipse, you can do it on line, and of course, since this is a function here, you can do different types of, like, you can do more than just like you can do pattern matching. Absolutely, you can make basically any function that can look at the data that you pass it in, can do whatever, and then dispatch on the return of that. So it's totally possible to do. I'm thinking on the mathematical level. But your intuition there is actually quite right. Like talking high level here, it would be cool if I do, say, translate, right? And then it has, I want to translate it something, right? I could give it, I want to translate it up 10, along 10, and 20, right? In the 3 dimensions. But I give it a line that's only 2 dimensions, right? You could dispatch it. The weird thing here is you can actually dispatch this in 2 kinds of ways, right? Like you could make it fail. You could make it translate as if it were translating like this, or you could kind of lift the 2D line into the 3D environment, right? So that's what when I say I want to figure out how to do it, I'm thinking a little bit beyond just the multi-method approach, and I'm just trying to think about what's sensible in a geometric sense. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. To be frank, it's a little fuzzy in my own head, and that's why I'm just thinking out loud here. I don't have a firm answer with how I want to do it yet. But for sure, what I do need is, if I want to use SVG as the container for these kinds of figures, which I do, I need a situation where I can have a 3D shape and call it like an isometric projection of it and draw a 2D SVG thing. And the reason I want that is because it's really useful for CAD and for manufacturing. If you can print PDFs, right, you have isometric views of 3D things, but they're just 2D diagrams. So if I do, this sort of style is what's in my brain when I say stuff like this, right? So this is a projection, and you can do that. Like I could make an SVG thing that looks like that, right? But I need to project the 3D onto the 2D plane. So that's what I'm muddling through right now. And multi-methods are for sure going to come up at some point again. Because they're super useful in a lot of contexts. That's a long-winded ramble on my part, but hopefully that at least puts a visual in people's minds as to what I'm even thinking about, you know? Yeah, and I like isometric projection for CAD stuff. So the other projection you can do is perspective, right? And perspective projections have distortion as the distance away from the eye increases, right? If it just like real life. If you look at a slender object, right, the part of it closer to your eye looks nice and big, the part farther away looks smaller, right? That's perspective. The reason I don't want that necessarily in my CAD figures is because dimensions they look a little more intuitive when you put them on an isometric, right? Because it does not distort the relative size of the dimensions. It feels intuitive in a sense for objects that you're trying to manufacture, and it's pretty industry standard, so should be a good approach. Right, so that is kind of the generic goal that I have in my head when I'm thinking out loud about how to apply rotations and things like that. Blah, blah, blah. Long-winded. Let's have a look at this transform thing for just a minute here. And we're going to make the bold choice to copy. Not copy, to cut 3D Transform Proto. And paste it here. And we're going to get rid of the move. Oh, wait a second. No, let me back down one little step here. There, 3D translate, but I want to cut that, put it back in here for the time being. Right. Okay. I don't remember what this function does. Let's say theta is what? 45 degrees. This returns. Oh, it probably is just a helper for, yeah, it's literally, that's all it is. It does the sine of the angle and then the cos of the angle. And that's useful because it's literally just to help with this. So I might delete it because it's confusing. Right. So that's not anything there. This render thing is not what I need. Extrude, not what I need. Draw edges. This is part of what I need. Ooh, should I cut that? No, let's right, that is if I do this here. So all this is, this rotation function that I built is doing it sort of stepwise. It's like applying Euler. I believe it's Euler angle rotations. So it's not my favorite. I probably want to do it with quaternions at some point, but this was the first thing I did. Anyway, what it does is rotates the object you pass it around the Z axis by the Z degrees, the Y by the Y, and the X by the X. So the order of rotation does matter. And so what I did here was, by that logic, these rotation angles give you an isometric perspective. And then these here, the 90-90, just flip things into it just flips along axes to orient one of the faces upward. So keeping these, at least for the time being, is just a useful reference point. So sine cos pair, let's call it that. Oh geez, sine cos pair theta. That gives me that. The rotate point is, yeah, that's the transformation there. Axis theta. If the axis is any of those, you do these different things. That's fine. And here, this is where things will have to deviate a little bit. Yeah, so this current there's maybe a smarter way to name all these, but just for right now, this is going to be okay. Right, so yes, we'll leave those be. This AB, maybe I should do XY. Is that, yeah. That seems reasonable. Axis theta XYZ. Right, so this rotate point here. Let's actually go ahead and put those into the REPL here. And let's try rotate point for a minute. And we're going to rotate it about the x-axis. We're going to rotate it 45 degrees. And we're going to give it the point 1, 0, 0. Right, so since I'm rotating it around x, there will be no change in the x value. That makes sense. Let's do that. So there we see a change, and it's 45 degrees. That makes total sense. Good. So this rotate point here, this rotates a point around 0, 0, 0 always. Hey, Marison, if you're watching right now, thanks for hosting. I appreciate that. That's cool. Hey, Marison. Thanks for the host. That's kind. Hope you're doing well. Now it's working? Yeah. So I guess it wasn't working for you yesterday, but you figured it out? Yeah, now it's working. Cool. Well, I'll take it. That's kind. That's nice. Couldn't do it on mobile. Okay, yeah. So I actually don't know what the state of the mobile app is for Twitch at all. I only use Twitch on desktop, at least for now. So yeah, that kind of makes sense though. You know, usually mobile apps have some reduced feature set. Anyway, I appreciate it. So, okay, we've got working rotation points things here, and then this is where things deviate from what I wanted. So what I actually want is this rotate function to work not on, I want to have a rotate function that just works on a list of points in 3D space, and then does a rotation and projects it back into 2D. That's all I want. So what I have to do there is fix this up. So this is not going to be helpful. So row here should be turned into points, where points is a list of points. That makes sense? Then nodes is not anything, and our nodes is so our nodes, I'm going to call it x points for transformed points, which is map v partial rotate point with the axis and the theta call there over points. And then you actually just return x points, and that should be the whole thing. It should be pretty straightforward. So let's see if that makes sense. Is that going to work? So if I do regular polygon, let's do radius of 10. I'm going to be a polygon with 6 sides. Oh, right. So I just need to what's the first of that? This function is a little outdated right now, but that's okay for now. Right, so if I do nodes of regular polygon 10, 6. Okay, we've got, yes, and then I do map v val onto that list. There we go. Okay, so now let's def a, just to hold that as a useful test thing in there. Oop, that's totally the wrong context to be writing that. There we go. All right, so right, so I have this list of points is 6 points here in 2D. It's a little messy, right? I've got this really small floating point value, but okay, that's actually okay for right now. Not a big deal. I suppose I could round. I'm just gonna leave it be. That's okay. This. I can draw as a 2D shape. X points is this. And now if I go here and I do SVG slash closed path. Oh, I could do polygon actually. Polygon, there we go. Hex points. That should work. Perhaps not. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. SVG slash scale. Man, that's nice. It is satisfying when the functions you wrote actually work. Right, so all this is just a 2D hex points thing here, right? So I copied and pasted it in there because this is two different contexts. This here, this REPL is the Clojure REPL, so running on the JVM, running the Java virtual machine. This code is linked to that running process. This code here is a Clojure script file running on this REPL here, which is linked to the browser. So these three windows are together, these two are together, and this app running in the browser uses as a dependency this library. So it's all intermingled, but it's a little confusing maybe. And it's that's why things get a little messy, because I don't have a perfect workflow yet. Ideally, I would be working on this library independently of the browser visual app side of things, or they would be more tightly integrated. They'd be running in the same process, so then a change on the Clojure code would hot reload properly into this. I just haven't set it up that way. There are smart ways to set it up. I just haven't done it because I have no good answer for why. I just haven't done it yet. It's partly because it confuses me. I'm not that smart, so maybe I'm not smart enough to set up a good working environment. Or it hasn't, more fairly, it just hasn't been enough of a burden for me to sit down and do it. Which is a good indication that I really should do it at some point soon, because it does pop into my mind as an inefficiency. But now I'm just rambling to myself about the things I haven't done, so that's a little boring. Let me get back into rotating this in 3D for a minute. Okay, so this here returns a list of points. Let's test this. What I need to do is define B as, what I need to do is remember how if I conj onto a collection 1, 2, 3, 4, that attaches it to the end. So if I do map the function conj onto the point 0, the number, I map that onto A, I get a list of 3D points. And so I def B as this, but I want to do a map B, so it puts it into a vector. So, my bad. So B is that. It's the same hexagon, but it's now in 3D because it has 0 as the Z value, which is totally fine. Right, so now it's actually just a matter of testing. If I do dash rotate on the points list B around the axis, Z, theta 45, key must be integer. Really, eh? Well, let's try rotate point about x 45 first of b. Okay, that works. Gotta check this message, sorry. Message, gotta handle that. Righto, righto. Okay, so right, what I'm trying to do is rotate this list of points. I thought it would work if I just called dash rotate on the points list. Right, so I have dash rotate the points list. The axis is some key, and theta is some value. Right. And here, this, I thought this would work. I'm confused as to why it doesn't. So let's find out. Let's figure it out. That's okay. Key must be integer. Oh, maybe I didn't redefine it. There we go. That was kind of silly. Okay, so the values change or not? Yeah, the values are different. This here, for instance, is different than this. These are different as well. Z is now non-zero. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like rotate is kind of working there, which is pretty neat. Pretty nifty, if you will. So that's that. And then this rotate one here should theoretically work just fine, actually. So if I do, let's find out. How about that? So we'll rotate the points B using the ISO Euler angles, and it actually does work. That's pretty cool. So let's change this to points, because that's all it is, points. Oops. Come on. There we go. Okay. So these names are totally not a smart approach. So I will change those, but this should work. Let's find out. Right, so if I do orient ISO B, it should give me a list of points. Sweet. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is tangle those bits of code back into the file. And what I want to try to do then is oh right, I have to make one more function here, which is just drop z of points, which is just map v the function here into vector take 2. I could also do drop last. I have to map it actually over something here. So map this function over the points list, and let's just check that that works. So if I do drop z of this here, I should get a list of 2-dimensional points. That appears to be correct. Okay, that's cool. So using those functions, what I can do now, actually, what I should be able to do, is make a new polygon call here, which uses, okay, it uses, instead of hex points directly, it does drop z of orient ISO of hex points. And then what that should do is make a nice figure once I recompile. Does that not exist? Oh boy, look at 103, line 103 of stylo.draw. I missed something. Oops. I'm a little confused by that, but let's try to move past it. Use of undeclared variable drop z. Oh, that's, of course, this is now my mistake. This has to be draw / drop z, draw / orient ISO. That should now, okay, it builds. Interesting. It's not working, which is fine, but I do now have to figure out why. Okay. Okay, so if I do drop z orient ISO of B, it does do that, and then if I do spg / polygon of that, it should work, right? Polygon points is that whole thing. Okay, the reason it's not working, I don't know. Okay, let's have a look at this. Maybe I typoed something. Oh, wait. No, that should be fine. Shoot, I'm missing something. Hex points exists. Oh, yes, of course. This is what it is. These need a 0. These need a Z value. Right, and this is indicative of some of the things that are going to be hard to handle a little bit anyway. 2D and 3D contexts sort of intermingling like that is going to be kind of confusing. Did that not fix it? Really? Shoot. Okay. Not a problem. I need to figure out what the deal is. Well, let's pare some of these numbers down a little bit. Let's make this 5. 8.660. Negative 5. 8.660. Negative 10. 0, 0. Negative 5. Zoop. Negative 8.66. 0 and 5. Negative 8.66. Oh, whoops, not what I meant to do. Something's not working. Well, let's just go ahead and try this. Okay, so that's hex points. Let's see what's wrong with this function. I expect this to work. Let's see if it does. It does. Why then is it not working on my... Wait a second now. Alright, I gotta... Okay. Okay, so we've got some visual there. This. No changes need to be saved. Let's open up the file for a minute. Source, stylo, draw. This file should be much shorter. Yes, it is. That's good. The extrude function, I don't want any of this. Make vert face and extrude. So let's solve those particular issues. Well, let's just delete them. How about that, huh? Save that. Refresh this. And now let's try this. Not quite. Well, let's simplify things even further if we can. Get rid of that. The axes, we'll leave them for now. Okay, color, slate gray. It's not a color problem. It shouldn't be a color problem. Polygon should work. What if I get rid of this function here? If I just drop z hex points. I don't quite get what's going wrong here. Let's see. Kind of want to get to the bottom of this one. Is there maybe a console error that's showing up here? Oh, it's okay. Yeah. Of course, I didn't look at, should have looked at the error. That would have saved me a bit of trouble. Well, lesson learned, maybe. Right, so the math2radians function I'm using right here isn't a thing. So if I instead do g/2 rad 2-rad, same with this one, 2-rad, but it's G, not math. Oop. Okay, that's that. Oh, am I in the right function? Well, okay, there we go. We've got things kind of working again. Working again. Let's go now back to this. We go orient ISO this thing here. Oh, d/. There we go. Okay. We successfully have a 3D rotated viewing thing. Does that make sense? Right, so what this then means is what I want to do for a moment here. Let's kill this draw function here. I have to go back into, first of all, I have to go into the extrude function. Wait, where did that come from? Here we are. This, I need to untangle that. Zip that away. There. Draw edges might have something hidden away in it. CAD view. Where did that come from? Maybe it's in here. Well, let's ignore that for now. It's okay. Oop. Okay. So here, now what I want to do is make this, I want to make a function that takes, that's basically x is 3D instead of just 2D. So how I do that is going to be a little weird for right now, but I can do it over here. This will be the last thing I do before I get going for the day. I think it's probably good. Right, so this is going to be SVG apply svg/line. Yeah, this is apply SVG line to the X points. This one's going to be applied to the Y points, and then I'm going to copy this, and this is going to be Z points, and it's going to need a different color there for a minute. Z is blue, so it's going to, I'll just use this one. Oh, I gotta, okay, so that's good there. Right, so now I need to actually define X, Y, and Z points, which I have to do now as right here, let X points be drop Z of orient ISO the list of points -1000. Oh no, sorry, I'm doing that wrong. Yeah, no, that's right. -1000 00 and 1000 00. Right? Is that right? Then Y points is the same idea. Let me just copy this. Right. Okay. But this time we do -1000Y, 1000Y, and then this is 1000Z, and this is -1000Z. Does that make sense? It might. We shall see. Okay. Let's run the function just to test. It does produce lines with different colors. Seems good. Right, so that's saved. We refresh this just for kicks, and we go over here to Axes 3D and see if it works. And it doesn't for the moment, but it might in a minute. The reason it doesn't is what? Oh, of course, I forgot to, I changed the math 2 radians thing is still a problem. Where is it? Right here. This has to be G/2rad. The reason I have to change this here is because I changed it in the source, but the source gets overwritten by the tangle, like from the org file, so I changed it in the wrong spot is basically what that means. Hey, there we go. All right, that is correct. That's an isometric 3D projection where, so we've got the X is the red line here, Y is the green line, and then we have blue being Z, and we've got a 2D hex in 3D space. That is really, really awesome. Now, obviously, so where things, right, so I'm just using 2D things to draw this out, right? So what I need to do is build out an abstraction that lets me run all of the normal functionality in 3D space. So what I mean is this, right? this, I can draw axes 2D right in the same canvas, and it, see, that doesn't make sense. That's invalid as like it's a projection, right? This is, I'm not explaining it well at all, but this here will explain. This is an example. So if I now do svg/translate, the only translate function I have is a two-dimensional translate. So if I translate it 1010, right, the function will work, but that translation is not mapped into 3D space. So what I would want, so imagine if I did 101010, this will fail because there's no Z component to the translate. But in the space, like in the proper 3D way, it would nudge basically it would move the hexagon 10 this way, 10 this way, and 10 up. And so this position is totally wrong. And you can see it a little more clearly if you do, say, 100 by 10, right? That 100 by 10 is 100 from here like this, which is obviously the wrong position if you assume that this is in 3D space, right? So that's what I mean. I need these functions. I need a layer of abstraction over it. So I'm not calling svg/translate. I would be calling something like 3D/translate or something to that effect, or sketch or drawing/translate. I don't know yet, but this is wrong, is basically the moral of that story. So this position here, this is correct in 3D because it says 0, 0, 0. If I happened to, if hex points were two-dimensional and I translated it first and then oriented the ISO, it would be correct in 3D, but it would translate on the plane here. So that's yada yada yada. Let me actually just try one. Closed path should be identical, right? Oh. Path polygon, yeah. Path polyline, yeah. Sweet. Okay, I'm curious what happens if I do cubic Bezier. Whoa, weird. That's probably wrong. That's probably wrong. Oops. Let's see though. Okay, so that's what it looks like in 2D. That could be correct, I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud a little bit with this sort of stuff. One thing I don't know yet is Bezier curves and things like that. If you transform the no, never mind. Bezier stuff is going to be complicated. Again, like this is easy because everything is planar basically. And so you can confidently translate the point positions and rotations without any problem regarding how it all looks. but it might not be exactly true with Bezier curves and stuff, especially if I'm using the 2D projection. Like if you project 3D Bezier points onto a 2D plane, I don't know if just using a 2D Bezier curve through those adjusted points will get you the right shape, is what I'm trying to say. So that'll be something to test and or figure out. But for today, I'm really happy with the fact that I have these rotate things sort of working. Let me put a little note in here, in my notes here. So 3D transform proto has no logic about transforming 2D things. It just takes a list of 3D points and rotates them about 0, 0, 0. Clean this up. Also, rename the rote point functions to /see if you can optimize them a bit to make it more understandable. There we go. Okay. Oh, also see if you can implement rotations via quaternions or perhaps some other sensible approach. Euler is fine, but can confuse people. Maybe there's a better approach. Also, it might be important to come up with a scene and a camera abstraction for 3D. Anyway, those are all important things to consider. I'm really happy with the fact that I have an isometric sort of 3D projection like this working. That's at least really good for static polygonal shapes, which is really fantastic, and for a lot of stuff that I have in mind to do anyway, it's pretty helpful. So there's a lot I can do with this as is already. On that note, oh hey, 4C6578, if that's not a bot name, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. Just happened. Hey, Alex. Nice. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. How's it going? You just caught me. I was about to head out, but I could sit just for 5-10 minutes yet. Just curious how you're doing. What brought you to the stream? If you don't want to talk, of course, that's totally fine too. None of that's a big deal. Oh, I have to check this message for a second. Give you a sec. Yeah, sure. No problem. No problem at all. 3D CAD? What kind of CAD are you familiar with? Trying to use Python and CAD. Ooh, interesting. What's your approach? SolidWorks Fusion? SolidWorks and wait, is SolidWorks Fusion? Let me see here. Or are you listing two different programs, I guess is what you mean, right? Fusion 360? Yeah, okay. So actually, the Fusion 360 API I have not used, so I cannot be directly helpful, unfortunately. But that's pretty cool, actually. So if you are you coming from a programming background and learning CAD, or are you coming from a CAD background and learning programming? Just curious about that. What am I looking at here? Video on GitHub, anything useful? Spline to polyline. Well, you know what? This is pretty cool, actually. Learning programming with CAD, like both of them, trying to do some project-based learning. Oh man, that sounds like a lot of fun, actually. You know, that's funny. Well, funny. It's similar in some ways to what I've been doing over some time. So I've not used Fusion 360, but I used to use FreeCAD here. It's a powerful, I think it's always, you know, it's open source, so there's room for improvement and stuff like that. Production tester. And the company you work for is using PTC Creo. Oh yeah. Yeah. I've never used Creo myself, but I hear that it's a powerful software. Anyway, I've used FreeCAD, but using a library called CAD Query before that is a Python binding to FreeCAD. So it's like the open source equivalent to Fusion 360 plus a Python API. And I used it. I've moved on and I'm trying to build my own sort of thing here as well, but this is a pretty fun thing. So similarly, I approached learning Python and getting more advanced CAD knowledge by the same idea that you have, but not with Fusion, just with other open source tools. And if you permit me a moment, I actually was able to make little designs using, so this code was a few years old. I haven't written it in a while, but this was Python in the CAD query language that I was able to use to create step files from code and make 3D things that could go to the CAM software at where I was building this. So I guess so here's a little 3D view of an assembly, and then the real deal thing, cut it on a laser, and then I made actual parts. This was a real project. So this is just to say it is possible to programmatically produce CAD things. So if people are doubting the validity of it, it's totally possible. It's a lot of fun, in my opinion. I'm not sure if you're looking for other tools, maybe in the space. Perhaps you've already researched all this on your own, but I've also used OpenSCAD in the past, and it was a lot of fun. The thing I don't like about it is it only exports to 3D printer, like STL files, and making drawings from it is a little more convoluted. But anyway, I'm rambling now. Love it. That's what you're trying to do. Thanks for sharing. Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate that. So if you want to see the code and that site a little more closely, I'm going to get going soon. I don't need to ramble on. I've shown that site on my stream a few times, so I don't want to spam it. But if you want to look through some of that a little more carefully, you can go on my Twitch channel page. Somewhere in there is a link to my GitHub, and you can browse through my repos on GitHub, and you can you can send me a message on Twitch here or on GitHub if you want, if you need help or pointers as to where to go next, that kind of stuff. So you go right ahead and do that if you want. By the way, you know, I'm just offering what knowledge I have. Take it or leave it. No pressure on your end. But yeah, this programmatic CAD stuff is really very interesting to me. I think it's a powerful idea to kind of mix programming and documentation and good CAD all into one seems like seems like a really valuable thing for me. So that's why I'm working so hard and openly on this stuff. That's one of the reasons anyway. But Alex, if you don't mind, I do have to get going. I kind of wish we caught each other at an earlier time in the stream, but hey, that's okay. You followed me. Thanks for that, by the way. I do stream fairly regularly, so if you pop in at other times, I'll be glad to chat more about programmatic CAD and all of that stuff. And I have to get going now, but thanks anyone who's watching now, anyone who's watching at some other time. I really appreciate that. Feel free to promote the channel by, like, comment, subscribe, follow, all the normal things. It seems silly, but it is helpful for me. So all the best. Catch you next time. Enjoy your weekend. Yeah, Alex, thanks so much. You enjoy your weekend too. Yeah, I'll be back on Monday. I hope everyone has a good one. That's enough from me. I'll see you later.